Galvanize is known for providing the most cutting-edge tech education and the most collaborative workspaces in the industry. On this episode of Out of Office, brought to you by GalvanizeTV, we sit down with the head of Misty Robotics, Tim Enwall. And now your host, Katie O'Block.
Hi, welcome to Out of Office. I'm here today with Tim Enwall, the head of Misty Robotics, and I want to make sure I get this right. Misty Robotics is a platform robot that democratizes access to all software developers. We have Misty here with us today.
She's had a rough weekend.
I know, Labor Day just really throws everybody off. But you guys democratize access for software developers to build assignments for robots.
That's right.
Super, super cool stuff. We're going to get into it. I'm really excited about this topic. But first, I want to know a little bit about you and a little bit about your background and how you got to this point with Misty.
Yeah, simple. I've been building businesses for 23, 24 years. Started Apple Computer, built a business, sold it to a public company. Second business is called Tendril. Third business, 5 years ago, we sold to a unit of Google called Nest.
Yeah.
And then, got involved. Paul and Ian at Sphero called me and said, hey, we've got this awesome project that we want to spin out. Do you want to take a look? And I said, yeah.
You've just seen you've seen technology happen. You've seen it grow.
I have. I've been really fortunate. Yeah.
Super, super cool. So when did you get on board with Misty? When did you first have that conversation with Paul and Ian?
2.5 years ago.
Okay.
February.
Yeah, you guys have been around not that long. The company's...
No, we spun out Memorial Day 2 years ago, so 2 years and 3 months.
Yeah, and you've built this lovely lady.
Yes, this prototype lady.
Yeah.
Which is why she's sort of cantankerous.
Yeah, she's having a day. She's having a little bit of a day.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about what it means to have a platform robot? What that looks like? How are you guys defining that?
Yeah, it is a tool for people who've never been able to access robots before to go build assignments or to learn on a robot without having to come along with $50 million and go hire 50 people and take 4 years to build a robot.
Yeah.
If you look at the state of robots today, that is the state. If I'm a business person that wants to solve an assignment with a robot, I'm sort of screwed today without a platform.
Sure.
I have to go build a robot or I have to wait for a roboticist to have solved my problem, which works great if I'm in a factory or a warehouse or even if I want my floors vacuumed, a roboticist solved the problem. But there's 100 roboticists in the world. That's an exaggeration, right? But there's a tiny amount of roboticists.
Yeah.
And stop. We were founded by one of them, Ian, who founded Sphero, shipped 4 million robots, a preeminent roboticist.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, I want to create a platform so that any beginning JavaScript developer, any beginning Python developer, any advanced developer can take a really sophisticated robot and now start exploring what are the possible assignments for a robot.
What are some of the assignments that you're seeing people work on for Misty? What are some of the assignments that people are creating for?
Yeah, it really falls into 2 buckets.
Okay.
One bucket is people will come and say, hey, I pay a pair of legs a lot of money to collect information.
Yeah.
That might be collecting temperature information if you're an HVAC technician, sound information if you're in an auditorium.
Yeah.
It might be air information, temperature in a setting where you need a controlled temperature environment. One of my favorites is a guy who sells a product to retail says, and this is literal, we pay a pair of legs to go take a photo of the end cap to make sure the retailer's in compliance with the contract we have.
Right.
And there's no reason the retailer at night, when the legs don't really want to work, can come around, take the photos of the end caps and send them off.
Right. And so you've included, I'm just thinking through that from a hardware perspective.
Yep.
Oh girl, I know, it's been a hard day.
Right. Well, if she does that again, she's going to be going to sleep.
We're going to give you a little nap. So from a hardware perspective, if you're thinking about taking a picture of an end cap or monitoring the temperature of something or making sure that valves or sensors or whatever are working, what's some of the hardware that goes into Misty to accomplish that?
Yeah, so the basics are, see, speak, and hear.
Yeah.
And be able to navigate autonomously. So there's an incredible amount of sophistication that's gone into a robot that's the price of a high-end laptop. There's 3D sensors so that she can map her whole world. There's beamforming microphones so she can respond to voice and conversation. 4K camera so that she's got really high-resolution photos or video streaming. Great speakers. And 2 cell phone processors that have to process locally. So, she can do face recognition, face detection. That's all, artificial intelligence built into that processor at the edge. It's not going into the cloud.
Yeah.
Right? So if it's a customer service job, she might recognize there's a person. Let me start to interact. If it's a specific set of jobs or assignments, the other category of assignments are all personally engaging. Elder care, disabled, again, customer service, luxury boxes at a stadium. Those processors are really required there to do that recognition.
Yeah.
And in the future, object recognition of specific objects that the person might want for the assignment.
Yeah. So as a developer, receives a Misty or starts working with the platform, you guys have coding days that you put on around the country.
Yep.
We've had one over at Galvanize in Boulder, actually. But as you're putting those together, what's the barrier to entry like for a developer to create an assignment or to work on an assignment for Misty?
It's virtually nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
absolutely
put her to bed. It's virtually nothing. We've had beginning Galvanize JavaScript classes.
Yeah.
At the end for their final project. I want to program a robot. A couple hands go up and they go off, and one had her reading their text messages, wandering around.
Yeah.
So it's the very minimum sort of JavaScript capability. In those workshops, within 30 to 40 minutes, once people are introduced to the framework and the documentation, they're off and running. So it's an incredibly low barrier to entry, which is again sort of the whole premise of a platform robot.
Yeah. So you're seeing people kind of adopt Misty. Are you seeing the demand for a market like that increase as you go along? 2.5 years, it might not have been as strong as it is now. Are you seeing that market starting to increase?
It's a little early to say. We just started shipping to our crowdfunding backers yesterday.
Got it.
So we've got to get those into the market and see what they start to do with it. Almost every significant technological revolution, you couldn't see a market at the beginning.
Sure.
Right? Look at the web. Everybody could create a document with Word or whatever word processor. I don't need to have some document delivered to me over some network.
Right.
They didn't know that there was a problem. And as we talk to people, business people are like, oh my gosh, yeah, I do want to solve this problem with a robot. I never knew,
Interesting.
because it never existed, that there was a platform, there was a tool for me to go solve this problem. So that's a marketplace. Teachers are responding tremendously to us. High school teachers, college teachers, we get inbound all the time from that marketplace as well, because they know STEM students want to learn about AI and robots. They know that's the future.
Right.
And so we've got all kinds of demand from that sector too. And we'll just see how that grows.
So the reaction has been great for what's coming out, but there's just no way to know what comes next in terms of, we didn't know that email was going to be so prevalent in our life before the internet started.
That's right. I mean, one of my favorite phrases is, if Steve Jobs had known spreadsheets were going to sell billions of dollars worth of his computers, he would have invented the spreadsheet.
Right.
We don't know what assignments people are going to build that are going to be amazing for a robot that can autonomously move around, see, speak, and hear.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. Well, we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk to you about kind of the future of robots, what that looks like. They're not so scary as they seem, and we'll be right back.
Employers rave about graduates of the remote program just as much as our on-site programs. Just like the in-person programs, the relationships you build with your fellow students are super strong. please reach out to our admissions department today at galvanize.com.
You make lifelong friends in situations like this when you're learning rigorously for that much time under that much stress. It's like you share experiences. So I could take this class several times over and still learn something new in each lecture. And I also knew this was a very challenging program, and I like to be challenged. I like to learn. I like to push myself. So it definitely was the best choice for me.
Hi, welcome back. We're here today talking with Tim Enwall, the head of Misty Robotics. We caught up a little bit about Misty and what she entails and how she's a platform for developers. But I want to talk a little bit about robots, just in general now. The industry that's coming, because it's inevitable, and why that's not necessarily so scary for a lot of people. But the first thing is kind of where robots are right now. It feels very like robots are in a single-use state. The Roomba. We all clean up dog hair with a Roomba, right? The Alexa, the Google Home, the voice automated robot. But what does it take for the industry to go from those kind of single-use robots to a multi-use robot like C-3PO or Rosie that we know from the futuristic shows or movies or shows that are out there?
Well, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Those roboticists we talked about,
Yeah.
they are in business to solve a particular problem.
Mm-hmm.
So they've solved vacuuming, they've solved moving
Yeah.
things around warehouses, and our hypothesis is it's going to take a village. It's going to take more than a village to create a general purpose robot. We have provided the sort of primordial aspects of it. Move around by yourself, see, speak, hear, and it's going to take thousands of inventors, some of whom are watching this podcast, to go, bing, oh, have I got an assignment for this robot? And then there's a sharing economy. So personal computers had a sharing economy. Smartphones have a sharing economy.
Yeah.
The web had a sharing economy where all those different developers put all of their inventions into the sharing economy. And all of a sudden, you in your home, a couple of years from now, you look at the sharing economy, oh my God, there's 50 assignments that this robot can do in my home. Now, all of a sudden, the price of an expensive laptop is an approachable price for you because it does make your teenage kids do their homework before getting on the internet. It does keep your house safe at night. It does make sure that the oven is off when you left. It does give you the ability remotely to see if you left your purse or your backpack there. It does, right? It does all those assignments because all those inventors put that into the sharing economy.
Yeah, absolutely. So is that the way to work around robots being a novelty as well? We saw like Sony had a cute dog, but it's not a real dog. So it felt a little bit like a novelty toy almost. How do we take robots from a novelty item into something that's actually useful in your office or your home or your business?
Yeah, I mean, they have to be useful, right? I mean, that's exactly right. You got to move from either single job or gimmick to something that's useful and multi-purpose. And that's the grand experiment that is Misty. Is her form factor, is her size, are these capabilities, are they enough for people to create meaningful assignments, really useful assignments in volume?
Yeah.
And we're about to see. We started shipping to the first inventors yesterday. There's 500, 600 of them out there, and we're going to keep making as many as we can make as people want to buy them.
Yeah. As a company, how are you adapting to those assignments that come up? You say, okay, we have someone that wants to do nursing home rotation monitoring. As you're building your hardware, you're taking feedback from your developers and working on that in the new hardware that you're putting in?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
In the software, our software roadmap stretches for miles.
Yeah.
We release software pretty much every 2 to 4 weeks. So, those new suggestions, issues that come up, we're constantly she's software on treads, right?
Yeah.
So, in the modern world, when you've got something that's internet connected, you can just download software all the time, keep improving it. So we're constantly listening. We have a community forum where people are contributing. It's not just us. Again, one inventor, one experimenter to another. They're talking about I did this and I did this, or sharing their videos, or so it's pretty awesome to watch that growing.
Robots on whole feel not Misty, not just the Roomba, when you think about robots as this esoteric concept, they feel very technical. As someone who is not a technical person at all, that's not true. I could be technical if I wanted. We can all be technical if we want to. But as someone who's not inclined to be technical, it feels very hard to want to put something very technical in my home or in my office. Where do you see the steps going to making that consumer barrier break down? To make it feel like you can connect with a robot, to make it feel like they're useful, to make it feel like you can assign them things and not necessarily have coding in your background or electrical engineering in your background.
So one of the things that Ian, founder of Misty, took away from the experiences with Disney was, how do you create an entity that has some attraction, that has some appeal, that has some character to it, and then working from the personality end of that, the eyes, the head tilt, the sounds, the arms, all that give her some sense of the common term is agency, some independence. That's part of our thesis as well, is that you can't have a lurch-looking robot going into the elder care facility taking care of grandma. That's just not going to work.
Right.
It's got to be something. And in fact, that's why we kept her small, is because we didn't want robots to be intimidating. We didn't want them to be scary. We wanted them to be approachable. And when she's diminutive, she's not threatening.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of how we think that evolves, is through character, approachability, and then, like we were talking before, when you can go to the assignment store, if you will. It's not a store, the assignment warehouse.
Sure.
And you can see all these different assignments your robot could do in your house. Okay, great. She's got some character. She looks good. She can do all these great, useful things. That's how we think we get to Rosie of the future.
Sure. And I think that's really key in the approachability piece, because part of the feedback that we get from robots and part of why humans are so afraid of them is that they feel very isolating, right?
Right.
There's not the human connection. It's very cold. It could be very cold. They're out to take your jobs. By creating a personality, are you seeing some of that shift away from the scariness? I mean, I guess.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, so we were fortunate enough to be featured by Twilio as Cedric. It wasn't Misty, it was Cedric at their 6,000-7,000 person annual conference. And just at hundreds of developers developing for 30 minutes, people coming through the booth, and the overwhelming sort of emotional response to Misty is a positive one. It's not a, oh wow, that looks off-putting, that looks intimidating, that looks scary. Yeah.
Right? The feeling of isolation is not necessarily there. The other thing is, if you're a human and you're interacting with a robot, you're not connecting with another human, right?
Right.
Also, I'm on this personal mission to rebrand robots because I think they're so freaking cool. But you're not connecting with the humans. What are some of the use cases that help robots improve the human connection instead of breaking it down further, right? Like social media feels very isolating. You're in front of a screen and you're kind of interacting with humans.
Yeah, I don't
Do
know
robots feel the same way?
Sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, because they are still, a computing machine.
Sure.
There are people who, if you can give them an experience that creates some sort of connection. I mean, the elderly, right?
Yeah.
40% of all hospital readmissions are because they're lonely. And so we know this, there aren't enough humans who will every day for 30 minutes or whatever amount of time go to every elderly person's home or room in an elder care facility and have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
So it's not like, so a robot can can go some of the way towards helping that person feel not so lonely or not so isolated. And, because it's video connected and internet connected, okay, great. Now I can audio connect you to a world of connections that you have, and I can follow you around. And it doesn't, grandma doesn't have to hold the tablet. Yes, elderly people may be afraid of technology, but again, if we've done our job properly, and we make something that's attractive and useful and unassuming, okay, great. They don't have to interact with technology. It's just their son or daughter's voice coming through the robot, or even their face coming through her screen.
That's so cool. I mean, I can't wait to see where robots go. For you, as the last question for our seemingly very short 20 minutes today, but for you, what's the roadmap for robots? Where are they going? What's the end game? Is there one? What do you see for the future of robots?
I think the end game is fairly clearly something like C-3PO or Rosie. And that's, I think that's a decade's excursion. It's not going to be the Misty 2 because it's going to have to be able to make the bed. It's going to have to be able to do the dishes. Going to have to be able to have a conversation with you, process language beyond. So, there's language processing. Right? We all know Google and Amazon don't process all of our conversation perfectly. That's got to advance. Artificial intelligence has to advance from being very sort of case specific to be applicable in this chaotic, generalized world called our offices or our homes. That's a gigantic set of roadmap for the industry. Power. Literally, like just battery power. How do you take something that's 7 kilograms or 6 kilograms, or if it's bigger, right? Something that's a lot heavier, and you power it for 10 hours and then charge it in 2 hours, right? All the power dynamics and the cost of that, that's a tremendous curve that has to be solved. Motors, right? Motors are physical. It's not like they apply to Moore's law and they're getting twice as good and half the price every 18 months. So, motors have to get more powerful, more condensed.
So it's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Baby steps, but exciting.
Yep, and it again, we believe it really starts with this world of developers, many of whom are in your audience, who have the spark of imagination, like, oh, wow, for the price of a laptop, I can make a robot I can teach a robot how to solve this problem for my family, or this problem for my work, or this problem, right? That's where it begins.
Well, I'm so excited to see where you guys go, and we'll have to have you back as you get some of that data back from the units that you just shipped out.
Absolutely.
Or maybe when Misty 3, when she turns another year old, another trip around the sun for the lady that's taking a nap right now. But thank you so much for being here and so much for your time. You guys are solving some big problems over at Misty, so I appreciate your time. And thank you to all of you for tuning in. We do have Ian Bernstein, the co-founder of Misty, on our Founder Hour, and you can check that out on our YouTube channel. And thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.